Hey there, CPO here, and today I'm going to start working on, I don't think I'm going to finish, installing the rock hard 4x4 sport cage into overclocked back there. So I've been wanting to do this for a while, and the time is finally here. So this is the cage as it comes out of the box. First of all, this is the main cage for the JK, and then you can get this extra additional rear center bar for the JKU to go across the back seats, which I paid for that extra piece. But I'm not going to do an install video like a step-by-step how-to, but more like a video log. And I'll show you any challenges I run into or anything like that. But first of all, this is how it comes out of the box. You got a little box of hardware in there, and this stuff is nasty. So I want to test fit it, which is what they recommend, before painting or powder coating. So I'm going to wipe it down and clean it. I'll probably use like a degreaser or something just to get the gunk off, so that as I'm doing the test fit, I don't end up getting all the crud all over my Jeep. And then I'll decide. I still haven't made up my mind if I want to paint or powder coat. Paint I can do myself. Powder coat I got to send out. So plus color matching is going to be the challenge. I'm still torn. As you can see, I have a lot of orange in overclock. That's my accent color, and my roll bar covers are orange. So I'm debating whether or not I want my dash bar across to be orange, the whole sides thing. I don't know. That's why I'm sort of torn. I could do a color match of anvil. I could do black, or I could do orange, and that's kind of where I'm trying to decide, you know, what it's going to look like from the outside. You can see the orange bar run across the front. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. Anyway, you'll know when I know, because I'll share this with you as I go through the process. But for now, this is how it starts. The rock hard 4x4 sport cage for the JKU, plus the extra rear bar setup for my Jeep. Alright, I got everything all cleaned up, used up the rest of a can of brake clean I had laying around just to degrease it. Now they put grease on that for a reason, so it doesn't rust, so I totally get why it comes nasty, but like I said, when I touch it, I don't want to get junk all over my hands, and then that's going to transfer all over the interior of my Jeep. So for the test fit, I wanted to wipe it down, and then I've got to prep it anyway for finishing. So it just depends on how long it's going to take. If it's going to take a while before I get it painted or powder coated, then I'll wipe it all down with WD-40, which will help prevent rust in the interim. But anyway, it's time to get started on disassembling the front of the Jeep. All right, so here's the status on the inside. Got the driver's side A-pillar cover over, which is this guy here. This is probably the most challenging part, right? Because there's this little plastic plug that holds it in, and it's got a little Phillips head screwdriver on it. And the idea is you put in your Phillips head and you turn this out, and it comes out and then allows you to free that panel, just like that. However, in practice, it doesn't really work that way very easily all the time. I've seen videos of people doing it like first try. You can see I spent a little time mangling mine before I finally got it figured out. So when I started out, I did just as instructed, lightly turn it, and as you can see, just like this, the screw didn't go anywhere. So what I ended up doing is pulling and sort of tugging and tweaking on that until I could get enough pressure on it that it would allow it to thread out. And what I'm doing to get that to happen is squeezing that together. It's just a plug that gets pressed in but has the ability to be threaded out. So if you don't get it, do like I did and pull it, tweak it, like tug, try and put some pressure on this so that those threads will catch. Anyway, we'll see if the next side goes as easy. By the way, the saddest part about this is the fact that I have to remove my Raptorworks front grab handles. Unfortunately, they were right here, but the new Sport Cage has built-in handles as part of the roll cage, so I've got to remove these guys, and that makes me sad, but anyway, it is what it is. And of course, this one comes out just as smooth as it's supposed to. So you never know which one you're going to get, the easy or the hard, but be prepared for either. And of course, try not to get that plug to drop down. But anyway, I wish the other side was that easy. And then from here, that just comes apart. There's this little guy here, helps you take it apart. And there you go. And you can see I've got some other wires run through here, which are now going to have to hopefully stay out of the way. All right, now that I got this side off, you can see this is where I route a lot of my wiring from the engine compartment. Pops in right through there on both sides. And I have some other wiring. This is for cameras, stuff like that. CB runs through here, you can see. So anyway, I've got that on both sides. But so if you're planning on making any changes to your wiring, it'd probably be easier to do it now while you've got this open before we put a big steel plate over the top of it. But that's my favorite access point to getting in and out of the firewall. Same thing on the other side. As a matter of fact, you can see here all my switch panel wiring, my wiring for my super chips, Trail-2, all that sort of comes in through here. And again, the firewall input right there. There's a hole already there. It's just filled with foam. So I stuff all my wires through that. All right, so I'm convinced they recommend you test fit just because there's a learning curve in getting this thing pressed in here. So it took me a little while to figure out like what angles, what pressure, how much to push. I do have my dash protected with some tape here, but I'm looking at things like the wiring that comes out, how does that interfere or not interfere with the process, and then also I need to trim this piece here so that it can lay flat. So this gives me a good idea, at least initially, of where I need to cut this to get it to settle all the way in. But as you can see, I had to push through right here and then up at the top to get it into that rotated position. But it is a snug fit. It doesn't just slip in there. Let me set you up and see. You can watch me take it out. So that's the tip, is to get it in there like that, and then you're gonna have to just push through like that. Obviously the tape comes in super handy, and I'm probably gonna put a wire loom on this, or wrap this wire here, which is now a little bit more exposed to some metal that it wasn't before. And I'd rather take a little at a time than too much. The good news is you can see here, I'm basically trimming the lower piece, but this upper piece is untouched. Oops. I almost forgot my tape. That would be bad. little bit more of this off. All right, I think that's as good as I'm going to get it right now. You can see how that is fitting in there. And I've got the one sort of bolt halfway in there. Anyway, it's definitely not plug and play, but I think it's as close as they can get given the tolerances that we're dealing with here. So anyway, we'll keep chugging. All right, so there was a reference in the install video about potentially the need to notch this out, and after doing some test fits I can see where I'm really hitting that corner. So I'm going to remove some material here. All right, so here we are bolted in. You can see I think that relief clearance gave me a little bit of help. This isn't as clean as I'd like it to be. I think there's some tricks for rotating that in, but I do have the top bolts secured. So this thing is in there. Next, what I'll do is drill the holes down here. Having never done this before, I would say if you're going to tackle this on your own, plan on plenty of time. I don't know how far I'm going to get on this today. I might end up running around with 3/4 of a roll bar in unfinished, just because of time constraints. But here's a critical test. Can I close the door? Yes. And that's what you're going to see poking out the top with the door closed. Cool, I'm getting excited. All right, I did the driver's side, and you will not believe how easy this side went in. Experience is the best teacher, because I came in, cut my my trim where it needed to be cut. I cut a relief already here in the bracket. I did have to pull out the wiring for my trail dash too, just temporarily. Now it's stuck behind my... because I didn't want to have to deal with that being in the way. But yeah, this thing went in and bolted up really easily. So super glad that I learned on that side, which made this side easier. Now I do have a bunch of wires coming out right here. I think I might actually grind out a little bit of a relief here for those wires. Another benefit of doing the test fit before powder coating, because I still have an opportunity to make some changes that won't undo something that's already been done. But I'll take a Sharpie, mark where I want to do relief. I'll just go ahead and do the same thing on the other side so they match. I took the advice in the manual on two different areas. One of them is starting with a 1/4 inch drill, and the other is using a long drill bit. Interesting, the hinge is in the way on this one. I'm going to go ahead and pull this hinge off just to be safe. Alright, so still working on the test fit. This thing is no joke, a pain in the butt. But let me show you where I'm at so far. You can see here I did sort of cut out and make a relief for the wires that I have back there. So that worked out really well. I actually just used a grinder to do that. Got the dash bar test fit in there. And it helps me understand what color I want to go with, because I've been sort of debating. But now that I can see it in the Jeep, it'll help me sort of get a sense for if a darker color or body color. I'm almost thinking at this point anvil, because this raw steel is pretty close to anvil, and I think that looks pretty good. So I also cut out a relief on this side. Even though I didn't really need it, it's kind of nice to have, so they're identical. You'll see here I only have 2 screws in here. This one just is not working out for me, so I'm going to extend the diameter of this hole just a smidge. Now the other side doesn't have any screws in there because the threads on these are pretty nasty. They gave you a tap to clean out the threads on these collars, which I did do. But they didn't give you a tap to clean out the threads on this side mount, so I'm gonna have to run to the store and get a tap, because some of these threads are really bad, even just trying to thread the screws in without having it installed. It just doesn't really go. So anyway, it is a solid bar, but it is a pain to put in. I'll be glad when I get done with this part. I'm pretty close, and then I'll pull it out and get it painted. I did wipe this down with WD-40, so if I decide to leave it in for a little while before I get it painted, it should be good there for rust. I have a back seat harness bar from Rock Hard 4x4 that I did the same thing. I just left it raw steel and just, wiped it down with WD-40, and it didn't rust at all. So anyway, that's where I'm going to stop this video. I'll catch you up on the next one. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.